Hey guys, welcome back to a new video by Biology with Zhangshan. So today we are going to attempt the Specimen paper series for the Cambridge IGCSE Biology 0610. So this is from examination from 2023. So this whole series consists of 6 papers of the Specimen paper, and we're going to start by attempting paper 1. Okay, so let's start off with the first question. The diagram shows a plant. Which characteristics of living organism is shown by the plant in the diagram? So you can see that light is taking part in the process, and when light interferes into it, it becomes sensitivity because this is a form of a tropic response. Okay, so the answer is D. Question 2. Humans have the scientific name Homo sapiens. What do the two parts of this name refer to? So this is always the genus, this is the species. So the answer is A. Question 3. The diagram shows a stonefly larva. Use the key to identify the stonefly larva. So we just basically have a look at this. So has two cerci at the end of the abdomen. So there's 2, which is correct, and we proceed to number 2. It has an abdomen longer than the thorax. Yes, if you can see that the width of this one is larger and is longer than the width of the thorax. So pretty much the answer obvious is at A. Question 4. Which part of the plant cell controls the movement of substances into and out of the cell? Okay, so into and out of the cell there's only one thing, which is usually the cell membrane. A. Question 5. The diagram shows a structure of a plant cell. What is the function of the specialized plant cell? So for a root hair cell, there is no chloroplast, and they just basically help to absorb the water, okay, for the plant to survive. So let's see the first few options. It absorbs carbon dioxide from the air. No, it doesn't. It absorbs ions from the soil. Yes. It transports sucrose from leaves. Nope. It transports water in stems. Nope. So the answer is B. Question 6. The photograph shows the chloroplast magnified at times 7,000. What is the actual size of the chloroplast? So I will use this formula of IM, where I have my magnification, which is at times 7,000, and my actual size is my image is 70 over A. So my answer for this would be 0.01 mm. So the answer is C. Question 7. How do carbon dioxide and oxygen move into and out of a cell of a mesophyll cell? So you can see this is a form of gaseous form, and the only process that occurs with gaseous form is diffusion. So the answer is B. Question 8. What are the features of active transport? So a key thing to know about active transport is that they go against the concentration gradient. That is one of the things. And then they require ATP or energy. They need carrier proteins. Okay, so these are just the main few features that we can identify from. So which one is the correct answer? So occurs through a cell membrane. Yes, it's correct. Particles move from a higher to lower concentration. No, it doesn't. So let's mark off everything that says correct, and the answer is quite obvious already. So it uses energy from respiration. This is wrong. Correct. So this is the only option. The answer is C. Question 9. The data shows the concentration of sugars and starch in an onion. The onion is tested with a Benedict solution and iodine solution. Which set of results are correct? So there is a positive presence of reducing sugar, but a negative result for starch. So what does it show? In the end is there's a brick red precipitate for the Benedict solution to prove that it's positive, and iodine solution will remain the same exact color as it is, which is brown color. So the answer is D. Question 10. The diagram shows a protease enzyme catalyzing the breaking part of a protein molecule into smaller pieces. Which diagram has 3 correct labels? So this is just the identification of the parts of how the enzyme and the substrate works together with the active site. So let's see which is the correct one, and it's quite the answer would be C, because the substrate is typically on the enzyme, and the substrate usually binds complementary with the enzyme's active site, and this whole thing is typically the enzyme. So the answer is C. Question 11. The apparatus shown was used in an experiment. The carbon dioxide content of the water in each test tube was measured at the start of the experiment and again 3 hours later. In which test tube will the carbon dioxide concentration decreases? Whenever we say the carbon dioxide concentration decrease, there's usually no presence of animals, and it's usually plants only. So let's see which is the correct answer. So the first one, you can see there is an aquatic animal, it's out. And if there's a plant only but with no light, therefore they don't photosynthesize, therefore B is wrong. For C, there's light and there's a plant which is able to photosynthesize and gives out oxygen. So this is the correct one, and last one is correct because this is an animal here which they will only undergo respiration to release CO2. So the answer is C. Question 12. The diagram shows a cross-section of part of a leaf. What is the name of the cell labeled X? So this is the very large cell I would describe it as. And it's actually, you can see there's a lot of chloroplasts on the cytoplasm, which shows that this is a palisade mesophyll cell. Question 13. Why do plants need nitrate ions? So nitrate ions is for proteins. Proteins, it's when it's being broken down, it will form amino acids. It's the building blocks of protein. So the answer is A. Question 14. In which part of the body does a mammal does its physical digestion? So physical digestion is always on the mouth before it enters the esophagus. So the answer for this question would be C. Question 15. The diagram shows part of the human digestive system which structure produces lipase. Okay, lipase is the one that helps to break down fats into fatty acids and glycerol. So the correct answer for this is the pancreas, okay, which is shown here. Question 16. The photomicrograph shows a cross-section through the root of the buttercup plant. What is the main function of the tissue labeled sac? So you can see this is pointing this, but actually you can see it's an egg shape. So this is a xylem. And what does the xylem do? To help to transport water and mineral ions. So the answer is D. Question 17. The diagram shows two shoots at the start of an experiment on transpiration. So there is shoot X, there is shoot Y. So what are the likely readings on the spring balances after 3 days? So you can see that there are leaves here, okay, which they can undergo transpiration, which is the loss of water vapor out of the stomata. So what is the correct answer for this is that in the end, the water level will decrease, therefore the mass of the spring balance will also decrease, and this will remain the same because there will be no uptake of water because no leaves are present. So the answer is B. Question 18. The diagram shows a section through a human heart. Which blood vessel is the pulmonary vein? The pulmonary vein is the only vein in the human body that carries oxygen. So where is this located? And you know pulmonary is from the lungs. So the answer for this question would be D, because it needs to enter the left side of the heart. Okay? Question 19. Which part of the blood contains hemoglobin? Hemoglobin is the key pigment. I wouldn't say it's a pigment, but that is something that is inside red blood cell. So it helps to carry oxygen. So the answer is C. Question 20. What are the approximate percentages of oxygen and carbon dioxide in inspired air? So in inspired air, the oxygen is always higher, the carbon dioxide is lower. So you can see from the obvious value, it will be C. Question 21. Which environmental conditions must always be present for seed germination? Seed germination is not, they won't be using any oxygen in this process. They will be using oxygen but not carbon dioxide anymore. So the answer for this would be D. Question 22. The diagram shows part of the excretory system. So these are the kidneys. If you can see, there's 2 kidneys we have in our human body. And what links to the bladder, okay, is by the ureter. So the answer is the ureter. Question 23. The diagram shows a reflex arc. So the reflex arc is typically after the person has touched something that requires a response. So D is usually what makes it reflex, and the sensory neuron is immediately after the response has been made, which is at A. Question 24. The diagram shows the structure of the eye. Which structure refracts light? So refracts light is typically at the retina, so which is at this. I think this is the cornea. I'm so sorry, this is the cornea. Okay, question 25. Which disease can be caused by a lack of vitamin C? Lack of vitamin C is typical for scurvy. Question 26. What is formed when the nucleus of a sperm fuses with the nucleus of an egg? So when it fertilizes, what happens between two gametes together is that they will form what we call as a zygote D. Question 27. The diagram shows part of a flower. Where does a fertilization occurs? So these parts are the anther, B is a stigma, and C is just the petals, D would be the ovule or maybe the ovaries. So the answer for this question would be D, because that's where all the fertilization occurs and that will form the zygote in the plant. Question 28. The diagram shows a female reproductive system. Where does implantation normally occur? Implantation normally occurs at the uterus lining or the uterus wall, so which is at C. Question 29. The diagram shows a timeline of a woman's menstrual cycle, which lasts for 28 days. So on which day of the menstrual cycle is a woman most likely to ovulate? Ovulate is the process of the egg being released out, which is typically at day 14 or half of the menstrual cycle, which is at day 13 to 16. So the answer for this question is C. Question 30. The human immunodeficiency virus can be transmitted in body fluid. Some examples of body fluids are listed. Which body fluids can transmit HIV? So HIV can be transferred through those can be contaminated easily, such as blood, and saliva not really, because saliva is used for chewing food. Otherwise, whatever we've been eaten, we might get HIV, which does not make any sense. Semen, yes, because it's something that requires contact, but tear fluid, there isn't. So the answer is 1 and 3. Question 31. The information shows what happened during some of the stages of sexual reproduction in human. Which sex chromosomes are present in the egg, sperm, and fertilized eggs are shown. So typically, an egg only contains the X chromosome. The sperm will contain the Y chromosome, and when there's a fertilized egg, especially when they have indicated that this is a male embryo, means it consists of X and Y. So the answer is B. Question 32. The genetic diagram shows a monohybrid cross. H is the dominant allele and lower capital H is the recessive allele. Which of the parents and offspring are heterozygous? Okay, let's pretty much have a cross with all of these. The first one, there's a big H, and then if you can see, another arrow is this one, and you can see for the second one, this also forms the H. This is forming the small h. For this would be small h. This will also be a small h and small h. When we have one capital and one lowercase, this is shown as a heterozygous. If it's two same, basically two lower capital letters, this is what is called as homozygous. So the answer for this question would be 32 is A lah. So 1, 3, and 4, because that's pretty much the only answer. For 1, you kind of know it's definitely originating from one of these, so it should be a recessive allele also. Okay, alright, the graph shows the distribution of characteristics in a population. Which characteristics is shown by this curve? So this curve is typically for what we call it as what is this discontinuous variation. For this case, the discontinuous variation is that it can change over time, which from this options that we have, it will be the body length of in humans, because we increase and we also decrease as time pass. Okay, So question 34, dates are a type of fruit. The table shows some features of the dates of a farmer grows. So the farmer would like to produce a new variety of date using selective breeding. He wants a medium-sized date that is a straw color and soft with a high yield. Which two varieties could the farmer breed together to get the variety he wants? So if you want to see that he wants a medium-sized date, right, he will need to have a Bari, okay, and a Tori. So which is the correct answer? Because they have satisfied medium, they want to have soft with a high yield available. So this is also in medium size. So the answer will be B. Question 35, the diagram shows a woodland food web. Which statement is correct? So just have a look. The rabbit and the frog are both herbivores. No, herbivores are only plant consuming, which is only the rabbit here actually, but the frog isn't. The fox and the hawk are both secondary consumers. Not because the hawk is actually this is a primary consumer, this is a secondary consumer, this is a tertiary consumer. So the hawk is the one that's wrong here. The frog is a tertiary consumer. No, it's a secondary consumer. So this is also out. The rabbit and the snail are both primary consumers because they are on the same trophic level. So the answer is D. Question 36. The table shows processes in the carbon cycle that release carbon dioxide into the air or remove carbon dioxide from the air. Which role is correct? When you release the carbon dioxide in the air, it's typically we combust or maybe we decay something. So let's take those as correct. Respiration also releases carbon dioxide in the air, but the only process that removes it is by photosynthesis. So the other options are wrong and the answer is only A. The graph shows a population growth curve for a species of insect which has been introduced to an island. This is question 37. So how long after the introduction does the insect population start to be limited by resources such as food? So this is more of a lag and the log phase that is occurred, but then what happens is after it has started to reach at the stationary phase. So this is the log phase. Log phase is where the birth rate is more than the death rate, but at stationary is where there starts to having problems where birth rate is equal to death rate. So how long it started is at 200 days. All right, to be exact, it's about here, honestly. Okay, question 38. What is the negative impact of a large-scale monocultures? So large-scale monocultures, crops needs harvesting at the same time? Nope. Monocultures produce different types of food? No. You can see from the word mono is that they keep producing the same type of species. Monocultures produces more food. Not really. It is correct, but for a positive impact, but this is a negative impact. The genetic variation of organisms is reduced. This is correct because when you harvest the same thing, right, it will continuously have the same thing. Therefore, there will be no genetic variation, no biodiversity with it. Question 39. What could help to prevent a species from becoming endangered? And you can see from the most obvious one is a captive breeding program. Last question, question 40. What is an example of genetic modification? Genetic modification is always about inserting a particular gene into a bacteria where the bacteria is able to replicate it in 20 minutes. Very, very fast process. So the answer would be A. Okay, so this is the end of the paper. If there are any questions, do feel free to type in the comments below if I'm not being clear with any of my words or articulation. So see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.